I'm Matthew McCabe. Welcome to Miracle Voices. Each episode, we will be delving into stories of forgiveness, healing, and transformation that have come about from integrating the principles of the book A Course in Miracles. If you want to learn more about A Course in Miracles, visit www.acim.org. If you'd like to visit the Miracle Voices site, please go to www.miraclevoices.org. If you feel inspired to make a love offering, please visit us at miraclevoices.org/donate. All donations go to support the work of the Foundation for Inner Peace, the publisher of A Course in Miracles. Now here's your program. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Miracle Voices. This is your co-host, Matt McCabe, here with my co-host, Tam Morgan. Tam, how are you doing today?
I'm doing so well. I'm so excited to have you to listen to how you pronounce our guest name. This is the setup. We are joined today with
our guest, Margriet Hassink. How did I do?
Good job.
You did well in the Anglo sort of way.
Okay.
Go ahead. Tell us your name for real.
Welcome, Margriet. Yes. Can you pronounce your name for us?
Yeah, you pronounce your name.
Yes, I can. In Dutch, it's called Margriet. So it's really around the G, in the middle. That's kind of, let's call it a little more difficult for people who are not from Europe.
But so how if you take out the G, you can say Margriet. Margriet.
No, that's not right.
But then you're skipping the
Margriet.
G.
Yeah.
Margriet.
How would you spell it out? Like, when you spell out Hebrew, you put the CH in for the H. How would you do this?
The same, because sometimes words are with a G and sometimes words are with a CH, and we pronounce it the same G. And the fun thing about it is that my last name, my maiden name, is Margriet van der Guchten. So that's just impossible. And I used to go to an English-speaking school, and people would be like, "Yeah, I have no idea what your name is," but they wouldn't even try.
Well, my name, my full name is Tamara, and so many people to this day who I'm very close. My stepmother always called me Tamara. That's like, you've known me for how many years?
Right.
And she would always say Tamara, and other people would say Tamara.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know that the language matters as much as people calling us what we want to be called, or don't, what they want to call us. It's fine.
Right.
It's totally fine. Yeah. Well, welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you for starting us with that. Because I was laughing before we got on. Thank you.
Yes. And thank you so much for having me. It's a joy to be in the presence of you all.
Vice versa.
Mm.
And Margriet, where are you joining us from exactly?
I am joining you from Holland, and I live in Immerse, which is like about 20 minutes from Amsterdam.
Okay, great. Well, I think a really nice place to start always is how A Course in Miracles came into your life. Would you mind sharing that?
Sure, yeah. Well, I got to start with the beginning where I had this thought when I was in a very confused mind state where just nothing seemed to work. I just finished, we had just sold our business, which was like a lot of work. All we did was work. And we were happy to sell the business, and we both got our paid jobs again. And I got a job that was like such a beautiful, I thought it was like exactly the thing that I always wanted to do, and why I studied the studies that I did. But I ended up being burned out within 2 weeks of being at that job. And I just couldn't get what was going on. I was crying a lot. I knew, my whole life has been around oh gosh, I'm so depressed. What's going on with me? But this time I thought I had no reason to be depressed because things really looked up for me, and with everything that was going on. Yet I was so tired and so depressed. And that's the moment when I had this thought, there's got to be another way. So before the course came to came into my life, I had this thought, there has to be another way. There's got to be another way because this is just not working. And I think like about half a year later, I met this lady who was a coach, and she practiced true forgiveness. And that's how I got in touch with the course for the first time. But in the beginning, I would open the book and I just, I'm such a practical person that the moment I start reading and I try to figure something out, I just block. I'm just not intelligent in that way, so to say. And so I got the book, but like you hear lots of people sharing about that, it just didn't make sense at all. But what I did know is that when I was with the lady and she would coach me through true forgiveness and she would share about all the teachings of the Course in Miracles, I would be like, that's it. I found it. That's it. That's my key. That's my to go to place. And so that's how it all got started, and that's how I found the Course in Miracles.
Okay.
And I'm just curious because I always like these side details. So what was your dream job that you got so burnt out in?
It was taking care. I was a social therapist, and I was taking care of children that were abused or neglected at home and had one last, like here in Holland, we do not take the children away from their parents unless it's absolutely necessary. And so the children would, after school, they would come to this place where they would stay with us and they would get more therapy. And so that the parents would only have like 2 hours with the children and they could still live at home. And if that wouldn't work out, then they would have to be placed in foster care.
Mm-hmm. So they kind of had a long-term warning.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's really interesting. And of course,
what happened?
Let's see how you get turned out. That's a tough job.
It was actually, the thing about my job was, but I see spirit in all of this, is that I was always very open-minded, and therefore I would communicate. Like some of the children were very autistic as well, and I could communicate with them, but not with words. And I know it sounds silly, but it's sort of more like telepathic or just like with the feelings or like that. But then because of having a paid job like that, they would ask me to write a report. And I would need to explain how I came to my conclusions of what kind of therapy was needed or what therapy I was actually applying. And I would get stuck so badly, like because I'd done the job like this before, this last one, and I would just get stuck. I could not write the report. And that's where I thought I was, I blamed it all on myself, so to say.
Mm. Thank you. And you also said we. You said we from the beginning, but I didn't know who the other person in the we was.
Oh, the other person in the we was my husband and I. We had a shop together, so that was the we. And then, and after having that shop, we both got jobs very easily after that. But right now, I should say I.
That's okay. But what was the shop?
It was a shop for like total interior designing / painting / whatever, window covering, stuff like that. And not interior design. Like we were not interior designers, but we would flip houses in the sense that houses that weren't selling. And we also had a shop selling all this stuff.
Ah, that was quite a switch in career.
Yeah. But before that, I was already in being a social caretaker for children with special needs. And then it got busy in the shop. So I just decided to join my husband.
Thank you. You're
And
welcome.
what happened to the depression and that feeling of burnout, like as time went on?
Well, the beginning when I found the course and I thought that I had found the key, I had someone called it once honeymoon weeks, which were actually honeymoon months for me, because I was so intrigued with what it said. I was in such a yes, yes, yes mode that my mind would get very high, so to say, and experiencing like above the battlefield experiences and stuff like that. But that was just for a little while. And then the real work started. So the depression thoughts were actually got pretty bad after that. They got even worse. And I don't mean to encourage anyone, but oh no, discourage anyone. But it got pretty bad. But what I did have in that time was a lots of mighty companions. So people weren't trying to fix or change me anymore. They were just willing to listen. I was like an explosion. I was like someone walking around with some feelings of like explosion. Like I always felt like a bomb sometimes, where I just didn't know what to do with all these feelings and also having all these other beautiful mystical experiences and just not knowing how to talk about it, who to talk about it with. And so slowly but surely, with lots of expression sessions and lots of help from just, people holding the space, it has turned into true forgiveness. And I can see that the depression was never mine.
Oh, beautiful. For people who
Yes.
don't know what expression sessions mean, can you just elaborate what that means?
Yes. So I had never heard of it either before I started going to gatherings where A Course in Miracles is the guidance, so to say, or the key for the person's path. It is just a place where you express what's on your mind, and with the opportunity to share thoughts without involving yourself in them, where you just share your thoughts and you're willing to, you could say, hand them over and say, I am choosing this right now. I'm seeing this. These are the thoughts that I'm thinking, but I'm willing to ask and pray for a miracle, which means see it differently. And when we're in an expression session, it's like they're not really rules, but it's just like you don't respond. You let the person sit with whatever they have. You do not go and pat them on their back like, oh, it's okay. You really allow them to just, you hold the space so they can just feel and express in a safe environment of what's going on for them. And of course, eventually, like right now, if there's an expression session or something's being expressed, I always check in with myself. It's not like I'm holding the space for other, but I'm just noticing what's coming up in my mind.
Interesting.
Mm.
And it's a lot of dark thoughts, or is there a typical one that you've experienced?
I think that the last couple of years had a lot to do with feeling unworthy or, thought like personal thoughts, like I am a failure or I didn't do well or I should have said this or even like that other person, should not have treated me this way and just acknowledging that first you start out with the ego and that's no problem, that's fine, that's actually perfect. But just because you're able to just share all those seemingly dark thoughts and you're not being judged for them, you're not being criticized for them, it's like it gives some, you are actually the one who's giving it some space so that what we call the light can come in. And so lots of thoughts were really about unworthiness or being unfairly treated.
Mm. Yeah. And you mentioned the above the battlefield moments. Could you talk a little bit more about those?
Sure. Well, it the moment I start talking about it, it's kind of like secondhand, though. That's what I just wanted to start speaking, and it was like, because they're always they're always describing a situation that as soon as you start describing it, you're giving words to something that is really an experience, but I'm happy to just, describe it. It's like you're not identified with form anymore. You still see form, but it's not the old meaning of a someone or an other or anything that has to do with the world. It's like you're aware that you're the dreamer of the dream, and you can choose any moment, and whenever thoughts come in, you don't fight those thoughts, so you stay above the battlefield. You stay above not being identified with the projection, and the projection is not like a person. You're not into that personhood anymore. So like, if you're not there, where are you? Well, you're above the battlefield watching everything that seems to be going on. Like you're watching your own movie, and you're watching everything from a more neutral and gentle way. No, not a gentle way, a gentle sight. Yeah. I can't make a better story out of it.
No, that's good. That's
I
good.
think that's
You
very
kind of
clear.
yeah, go from Margriet, the actor on the stage, to the awareness of being in the audience type feeling.
Yes, and also really like above the battlefield field really means like you're in such a neutral state of mind that I'm watching the character Margriet doing what she does,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Margriet, we'd love to hear your forgiveness story.
Right. Yeah, my forgiveness story that I think has been most recently like, and it's still going on. It has to do with my mother. As a child, I would always feel quite misunderstood, also not seen, ignored. I always thought when I saw people sitting on their mother's lap and just cuddling like that, I was like, why don't I have a mother like that? And I thought I was really missing out on the love. And then as the forgiveness process has been going on, and I've been really looking and taking responsibility for what I'm seeing, what seems to be outside as the mother not being kind or giving me these dirty looks. It's really the meaning I had given it, and it's not an overnight thing. It's just practice, 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 practice. And so this whole shift that has been happening with my mother is really that I have seen that it was a never ever her. I know this is a short version, but this is just how it's coming up. Like it was never someone else. It was never her. It was never uh, someone not liking me or someone ignoring me. It was just when you turn it around, it was just a beautiful forgiveness opportunity in forgiving, I would almost say myself, because the mother figure, you think you're being born from a mother. That's like the closest first thought of another person has turned a lot in from someone who I thought was very bossy and controlling me is now such a kind, compassionate person. And not always, but when I think that she's not, I just know right now that I have more work to do. And I also see that as I do my forgiveness work with her, that um, she is getting really, really kind and really appreciative of everything when she asks me to help her out. Like before, I would be like, "Oh, gosh, you're such a nuisance." Is that an English word? Like, I don't
Yeah.
want to. Yes, okay. Uh, and now I am just so full of joy to be. It's more like I'm in service when someone asks me something, and it's not, and it's kind to the other one, but also kind towards me, to myself. It's really a joy to respond to the call for love, which can look, like I shared, like it can look like getting up early and driving her to the hospital or driving to appointments, and she's so appreciative these days of everything, that all the time we spend together, and that and something that I noticed today, because she sent me a message, and like I shared earlier, that I was traveling today, and she sent me a message, "Hey, are you there? Can I come over?" And I was traveling, so I was like, "No, I'm not available." And I noticed that there was just no guilt there. There was no guilt in saying no, which means, like, for me, that's such a reflection of that the relationship is going towards the holiness, because it's not it's always great to say yes, but I used to have guilt coming up to say no, when I would say no, but there wasn't, because there was no, I'd almost say, guidance to do anything more than to say sorry, not no, I didn't even say sorry. I just said I'm not available at the moment, and that's it. And I really appreciate today that I saw that there was just no guilt there.
Mm, that's
And what does
fantastic.
your mom say about that? Does she notices the difference too? Does she say, how did this change, Marguerite? Did she think about that or ask about it?
Not that specific question, but she has been asking about my process, and she's very open-minded. That's another beautiful reflection. Like, I can speak, I won't say the word Jesus, because it doesn't resonate in that moment, but I will say love, and I will say God, and I will say above the battlefield, and I will, everything that I explain to her, she immediately gets it,
Mm,
which
that's good.
is, it's beautiful.
Now, earlier when you said, my forgiveness with my mom's still going on, is there some sore spots that come up every once in a while, and what happens then?
Well, I can have a future thought of her not being here, which I know is still a forgiveness opportunity. So there's still some attachment to having a mother in this world. And that's the practically the only thing that I can see in my mind. Like, okay, well, if she dies, that's not like with my dad at the moment. He died a year ago, or he passed over. I like that word better, but like right now, that whole process, I can just I can just see it was only to wake up the mind. Only. I can honestly say that. And with my mom, I'm not full circle with that yet. So,
Um, uh, I just I hear what you're saying, and I really respect and honor that. But just to add a little other perspective, um, I was for a little while when I was much younger in a tradition with gurus. So the teacher would pass on and impart to the next teacher, and each one would become a guru. And it was a lot of devotional practice. And it was intriguing to hear that when one guru would die, the next one in line who was taking over, who was, alive and teaching during that time and supposedly in an awakened state, would cry almost unconsolably when the teacher had passed. And I was very curious about it, and I did some studying and research, and the best answer that I got was, why, when you're this aware of what life is, that there is no death, that this is, but we're all love. What are the tears about? And the answer was, that person deserved it. And I heard that, and I didn't really get it until my mom passed, and I just felt her presence so with me. I couldn't mourn. Like she was still right there all around me, and I was in her apartment, and it became almost a joke because people would come in, they'd see me, they'd burst into tears, and I'd find myself hugging them saying, I'm sorry for your loss. And they was like, well, how could you be saying this to me? And it's because she lived such a beautiful life. She deserved the tears in the world of form. And it was okay. It wasn't guilt. It was I believe so much in who she was and she's gone now. It was, the form has just changed. And it's not a bad thing to feel even that grief. It doesn't mean that you're not there. It means that it was a life well lived with love. And, you can honor that. And even miss it. It's okay, even though on a deeper level, nothing has changed.
Right.
So you don't have to mix the levels and then call it guilt or call it, I'm not there yet. You may be there and just enjoy the feeling of having her here right now and the gratitude of it. Without the only part you're dealing with is fear that the form is going to change. But I was surprised. I mean, my mother always said to me, I'm going to be so much stronger for you when I'm not here. And I was like, yeah, okay, but that's, you're talking in the higher form. But actually, that's what I felt. I still haven't actually mourned her in that other way because she's so present. So you don't know what you will feel. And you can't even compare it to what you felt when your father left, when you really entered this holy relationship of the shift with your mother. It may be different than you think. Just don't judge yourself. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, thank you for that. I could see that. I was like, there was a thought like, oh, but when this happens, I'm not ready for that yet. But who knows? Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, my mother was kind enough to say she wouldn't go until I was ready. And I thought I could never be ready. And I was wrong. I could, and I was. So just don't make stories of the future if you can help it, and don't judge yourself about what you're feeling now about it.
Right. Yes.
Let it be, and just keep enjoying the gratitude of how beautiful this is now with your mother.
Yes. Yeah.
And really ground in that, because that will help you ride through whenever that next step is.
Yes, I hear what you're saying, Tam.
And
Thank
if
you.
there are tears, it's not failure.
No, it's not.
It's honoring and gratitude of what an important, again, special relationship this was in order to turn around to remember your love.
Well, those words are exactly the words that I have not been able to find yet when I talk about my dad. And I know I'm jumping from the mom character to the dad character, but that's exactly what happened with the passing of my dad. And I remember that I was a lot taking care of him, like practically every day, and he couldn't communicate anymore, but I could still understand him. So there was always like, hey, Margriet, come here. We don't know what he's saying. And, So I had this special role and all of that. But it's really just all the practicing of just being in the mind and just sort of like feeling what was needed in that moment. And it was like I think it was a Monday that I heard clear guidance. Now take your hands off.
Mm.
And I was like, yes. I took my hands off, and the next day I didn't go, and I just started crying the whole day. And my mom showed up. She's like, "Why are you crying?" I said, "I don't know. There's something about dad." I said, "All I hear is dad, dad, dad." And she goes, "Oh," and she actually came to give me a little Mother Mary figure that she had from her mom. So that's what showed up. I mean, that really touches me. How symbolic. And so I'm like, "Why are you here?" She gave me that beautiful figure. She's like, "Oh, I just wanted to drop by and give you this. I really felt to give you this little antique figure of Mother Mary." And I was like, "Oh, thank you so much." And we just sat there, and I said, "I'm sorry, I just can't stop crying now." And she's like, "Oh, but your dad." And the next day he died. And it was a surprise. But as I say it right now, I can really feel almost the gift of playing out the role of the caretaker and just saying, I, I've had enough. I don't want this anymore. We have played our roles. I'm taking my hands off, and yeah, it's complete. It felt
Yeah.
complete.
Yeah. And it is a dual partnered process, because I remember, I've been with a lot of people as they pass. And at one point I was touching a really dear friend's feet as they were in transition to passing, and there was a heart monitor on, and it was the beep, beep, beep. And it started to flatline a little. And then I touched the feet again, and it went beep, back again to the beeping. And each time I would step away, it would start to flatline. And my friend next to me finally looked at me and said, "Step away from the bottom."
What are you doing?
There was something in just the love and the touch that kept him here. And your dad was obviously ready to go and partnered with you of, "Please stop now." And you were doing it together. It was with his blessing and permission, because it was time for him to go. And he couldn't go as you were still taking care of him because he was connected. Another friend, actually, my partner's aunt, kicked everyone out of the room, basically saying, "I can't die with you all in here. Get out of here. I have to do this alone." So there's so many ways to go through that, but it seems like you and your dad really were complete.
Exactly. And it was actually his birthday yesterday. And when I think of him now, all I feel is gratitude. Like I only get one image, and it's an image of him giving me such a big smile. That's all I get.
There it is. And when you are ready, your mother and you will probably go through this similar thing, and you'll feel it again.
Yeah.
Probably even more consciousness because of your path. You're getting more.
Yes, and the gift that, what we played out, and the gift that I got from all of this, and with this gift, it's immediately given to the whole mind, is that he can't leave me. It's impossible. He just can't.
Yep.
I could try and try and try, but that's that smile. That smile for me is like, "Hey, you know what? We did really good, but I'm still here. You're still here. We're all still here." And that's what I got from this whole like the last year of the whole process.
Well, so it's not, there it is. You've just told yourself what's going on with your mother too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. Sometimes you need to hear yourself speak, huh?
Of course.
Yeah.
It's an expression session.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
right. That's right.
I like that. I actually
Yeah.
haven't heard of that.
Okay. Yeah.
I love
Margriet, what do you do when you get in an ego storm and it just seems like it's so real and you're wrapped up in it and angry and it doesn't seem possible to get recentered? Is there anything practical you do to get back on the beam?
Yeah, it depends on how painful it is at the moment. If it's really, really, really painful, I go to a place where it's quiet. It doesn't matter anymore where, I can lie in the bed or I could just, go for a walk and and I try to be as gentle as I can with myself because I'm at a point where I'm starting to recognize that this too shall pass. So I try to how do you say that? Not try to fix much about it anymore, but give myself whatever feels gentle in that moment. And most of the time, it's just okay, guys. Whatever agenda I had, nothing, everything gets just washed away, and like I need time for myself. Or the only thing that I do still feel that can help when there's just a lot of emotions that I can't seem to grab is I call a friend. And yes, usually it is a mighty companion, but it can also be my son, or it can be, my husband, or whoever I actually feel is in my awareness that moment. I feel like that's given if for the help that I need in that moment.
And I want to ask you about your favorite comfort food, but before that, I was in the Netherlands a couple months ago and learned a few things. And one of them is something called Niksen.
Yeah.
Can you explain that what it is? Because I think everybody would love to hear about that because it's we live in such a fast-paced world and don't give ourselves permissions to chill out. And you actually have like this whole concept around doing nothing. So please share.
Yeah. Oh, that's an hilarious question, Matt, and a good one. Niksa, I would say in Dutch, even lekker niksen. That means that there's no goal for that moment. You just do what you do, but there's no goal. It means nothing, doing nothing. That's the translation of Niksa. So you have no goal, there's no judgment. You sit, whatever you do, you do. But there's no judgment. You just call it even lekker niksen.
Yeah, I love
Um,
that. That's all I
Yeah,
want to do is nothing.
I got really
I know.
confused about that. I just want you both to know. I thought you were talking about a specific comfort food that you researched in the Netherlands. That
Okay.
all that, and I'm going,
No.
okay. So what does that look like in food form? Where are we getting to in this?
No, it's just an idea. It's an idea.
Okay.
Nick
Okay, got it now.
Mm.
Thank you.
Yeah,
But
it's a verb.
now.
But really, what does that translate into in comfort food?
Oh gosh. I thought like
No
I
pressure.
just I like food. That's one thing. But what really came to my mind is I love marshmallows. They are so yummy, and they always remember me of like a beautiful experience, like when we would go on vacation with my family. My family we would always go with different families together, and my dad would always build a barbecue at the old-fashioned barbecue with coals and stuff like that. And after dinner, we would all take a stick and we would roast marshmallows. And we would have a lot of fun because it would always be like who would get the biggest marshmallow, and then they would drop into the fire. So no one got to eat it. But just in general, I just love the taste of marshmallows.
I am
Yeah.
so with you on that. I only
Yeah.
had really two foods that I can't stop eating. And one is caramel corn, like freshly made. And truly, I have to throw it down the toilet because I will not stop myself from eating it. And I get really kind of sugar sick afterwards. And the other is, well, I love anything with marshmallows in it, but particularly like such a junk food that I would make as a kid, which was Rice Krispie treats, marshmallow Rice Krispie treats. And the mixing of the butter and the marshmallow and the Rice Krispies, I will eat a whole pan. Like
Really?
And I've just out of nowhere, I've been with my partner for almost 8 years. Out of nowhere, a couple of weeks ago, I just had to make it, and he watched me eat the whole thing. And so I have that tremendous love with you for marshmallows, and people don't. But as a kid, my favorite thing with the marshmallow was, have you ever made taffy with your fingers out of them?
I'm not sure.
Okay, you would know. So this is what we always used to do when I was in camp. You take 2 marshmallows, normal size marshmallows, whatever that means, not the minis. And you put them between your thumb and your forefinger and your middle finger of both hands. And then you start to pull on it. And you do this for like a half an hour, and it turns into the softest, like, piece of marshmallowy taffy world. And it is so good. And it's also meditative to do it because it's just a rhythmic finger pulling of these 2 marshmallows that you smush together, and then you pull apart and you smush together. And it is so delicious.
Oh my goodness. Well, the thing about it, though, that I gotta say this, like, I've been to America, and I know that you've got like choices, like millions of choices. Here we just have marshmallows. They can be pink, they could be white, and that's it. We might have small marshmallows somewhere, but like how you have in America, the marshmallow spread or something.
Oh, yes.
We don't have any of those things. For me, it's I'm sorry.
It goes so well with Nutella.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, no, that would be too much for me. Like, that's
you know what?
too much.
Next time you're here, I challenge that.
Okay.
You've got some great treats there, Margriet, the stroopwafel and everything. You're not living in a stone age of treats in the Netherlands. You've got some great ones there.
No, but she is right. Like, we now have marshmallows that are not only all different colors, but they're filled with things. Yeah. Like you can have chocolate inside your marshmallows now. They're really going all out on the marshmallow stuff.
Okay.
So I think you're right. But yeah, I can't wait to see you next and to.
Yes. Yeah, that'll be fun.
Mm-hmm. And then have you ever heard of a fluffernutter?
No.
Okay, so that was something I grew up with too, which was peanut butter and marshmallow fluff on a sandwich.
Oh my goodness.
It was really good.
Peanut butter marshmallow. Yes, I have heard of that.
Fluffernutters.
Never had it though.
Yeah, and then if you really go for it, which I always did, it's the peanut butter, the marshmallow, and the Nutella.
Wow.
On bread, yeah. Really good.
Well, it sounds really delicious, but I've always been a very basic girl, and I think I'm just going to stick with my marshmallow on the fire.
Fair enough. But I think with that, you should try the taffy.
Okay. Yes. That sounds fun. Yes.
It's really fun.
Tam's got a lot of razzle dazzle around her marshmallow. You can't let it be.
I've never been a minimalist.
Razzmatazz.
I'm not a minimalist.
Well, Margriet, is there any way you want to point listeners to connect with you online, or do you want to stay anonymous, or what would you like?
Well, I actually have a coaching business. So if anyone wants to, if you just want to reach out, you can always reach out with Margriet Hassink, which is my name on Facebook. And I also have an Instagram. What do you call that? What do you call it? An Instagram page? Yeah. It's called Paintings Margriet because I make a lot of paintings, and if people like them, they can buy them. And so that's another way. It's called Paintings Margriet. And then I have my coaching business page, which is called Life Coach Margriet.
And just to be clear, to spell Margriet is Margrit.
Right. And it's .nl at the end, like the Netherlands. Yeah. So, and I love to communicate. I love to, if someone has any questions from this podcast or anything, feel free to reach out, because I like that. I really like that.
Wonderful.
Well, Margriet, thanks so much for coming on Miracle Voices and sharing your miracle voice. We really appreciate it, and hope you get to enjoy some Niksa and marshmallows this week.
Oh, Matt, it was a joy to speak to both of you, and I really appreciate that you just tried to pronounce my name right.
It was fantastic.
I heard it.
I'm going to try. Margriet.
Yeah.
I'm going to get it. I really am going to practice this.
Right.
Thanks so much for listening today. Please subscribe to Miracle Voices by hitting the subscribe button on your podcast app. If you are enjoying these conversations, please consider leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever podcast app you use. And lastly, please visit us at miraclevoices.org and join our newsletter so we can stay connected. Until the next podcast, I want to leave you with my favorite course quote: "When you want only love, you will see nothing else."